I mean, you've covered American politics for how many years now?
I've covered the last 3 from here in the US, and I've been following them, working as a reporter for the last 20 years.
Wow!
So it's been a while. I was following them when I was a kid in Australia. You know, I can remember this guy. Jimmy Carter used to come on the TV set, and he looked a bit like a cartoon character, and he sounded like one, and he seemed quite important, and so I'd watch him, and then I remember in it was probably about 1980, that was a big campaign. We watched that, you know, as kids as well, but as a working journalist, it's certainly every 4 years has been a big story for us to cover in Australia, and to have recently the chance to come over here to cover it from up close has been terrific.
Well, given the fact that 20 years gives you some comparative perspective, what's the biggest change that you've seen in American politics? I mean, in that time frame.
It's interesting that the media is in many ways attracted to what doesn't change about American politics, and we often go looking for stories that match previous stories, previous narratives, previous candidates, and so on. So everyone's being likened to, this guy's going to be like George McGovern, you know, and for Howard Dean that was the kiss of death. One way to say this guy's not viable is to say he's the next McGovern, or Barack Obama now, you know, a lot of Republicans and even some Democrats are saying, oh, he's got Jimmy Carter written all over him. So in many ways it's there's always been this sense of sort of referring to the past to explain the present, to try and get the context. The speed at which the media is rather like a child with attention deficit disorder these days. The media gets sick of today's story so quickly in the 24-hour news cycle that if a candidate is inevitable, then that's now the kiss of death. It's worse than being the next McGovern or Jimmy Carter. You're the establishment candidate, right? Okay, well, we've got to find somebody else because that was yesterday's story and we need a new story for today. And so now here's another candidate. So that the media does this, and yet the candidates have to go through this 2-year process to get to the White House is a real tension, because of the media, you know, getting very bored very quickly with the narrative that it's generated for this particular candidate.
You also said in a recent conversation here to a group of activist Democrats that you thought the shrinking viewership of the mainstream media has changed how they behave. Can you just repeat sort of, you know, your observation there, which I thought was very interesting?
Well, in many ways, it comes back to the same child with attention deficit disorder who, if you don't pay enough attention to it, it starts to scream. And I think that it certainly, in the last 18 months, the American media has started to scream to regain some attention, because so many people are making their own choices rather than getting a particular network's ideology sort of as a template over every news story. They're going to YouTube to see campaign events and speeches in long form. The media reduced campaigns every 4 years. It seemed the sound bites got shorter, from 20 seconds down to 15 to 10 to 3-second sound bites. And reporters will go out and cover an entire event, and there'll be maybe 5 words from a candidate will make the cut in the news. So not surprising that people then say, well, if I go to YouTube, I can watch a video that somebody took on a camera phone. They uploaded it when they got home, and 2 hours later, before the nightly news comes on, I can now watch this in complete form and make my own decisions as to what's important, rather than what 3 seconds of this 2-hour event is worthy of fitting what was a pre-existing story that the media had decided at the start of the day in their editorial meeting at 10 o'clock with their boss. They'd said, okay, we're interested in what Clinton says about Iraq today. Forget anything else. Don't even listen for anything else. We just want the 3 seconds on Iraq, and that becomes it's the self-fulfilling prophecies of the mainstream news media.
And then after they use that clip, they have 5 commentators and spinners
who
then talk about it for the remainder of the hour-long show. Yeah. Now, do you have that in Australia as well, or not?
We don't to the same extent.
Yeah.
We don't have as many cable news networks.
Yeah.
But you know, clearly it is much cheaper to get 5 experts, you know, 3 of one ideology, 2 of the other that you don't agree with, but it's, you know, you put them on, and to be able to mix and match these 5 people that you have on a rotating roster to analyse these things is much cheaper than having actual journalists who have to get in a car with a camera guy and a sound guy and go out and cover these things, edit together a report which involves you know, another couple of people back at the station, and then at the end of that you've got maybe 3 minutes of airtime. You get one talking head to chat away like you and I are, and suddenly you can fill a whole lot of minutes, and it's really, you know, using a pre-existing pre-lit studio. And okay, thanks very much. We'll see you back here on Tuesday.